Hi guys, and welcome back to this final giant episode of Black Widow. I'm determined to finish the whole thing by the end of this. Did just a whole bunch of work. The main battle I'm having right now is about just keeping up with the abundance of details and keep up the design work, I guess. Because when I have to detail a kid number 12, for some reason you just start approaching it like just a scribble. It becomes so lame looking, lame shapes and everything. But you really need to sit down, just focus on this one kid and sort of solve them. Make them look interesting, special, find something about them to support the big story and even tell a little story of their own. That's the most awesome part about it. I really keep constantly reminding myself that this is not a chore. I want to paint Black Widow and all these kids, they're they have to be done. But I quickly realized this is a very wrong approach. And yeah, the whole process kind of switches between two modes. One of them, me looking at the whole thing, jumping all over the place and just quickly scanning the picture for the most annoying details. Where something's wrong, that's you're trying to look at the picture the way a fresh person would be looking at it when they first see it. You're just removing all the problems that will distract them. Usually it's about either toning down the contrast or fade away the edge. Like the edge is really sharp, I just fade it away to make it less intrusive or something. Or it's about making the whole object overall darker or brighter. Something I mentioned before, you may be working on one kid for a while and they look just fine when you're zooming in, but when you zoom out, it's looking too dark when it's actually in a very bright environment, so you brighten it up altogether. Or something like that. And I already mentioned the second mode of working on this big picture is when you just decide, I'm gonna work on this kid. So you zoom in and work on it. The sponsor of today's video is Wingfox. Gavin O'Donnell is an Irish concept artist working in the field of animation and video games. He worked on the projects for Netflix and Savage Interactive, the creators of Procreate. And Gavin is here to show you the way he's creating highly stylized illustrations using Blender. I especially like this course because it's actually aimed at the beginners that really want to start using Blender but don't know how. Gavin will show you the best shortcuts and the most important things specifically for creating a beautiful artistic base for a future illustration. You'll be using a lot of interesting shortcuts and add-ons and then making the whole thing work together using Photoshop. I highly recommend this tutorial if you want to start using Blender for your illustrations. So if you're interested, check out the affiliate link and the discount code in the video description. So yeah, I'm really trying to, fix everything that I was just maybe working on for a while without realizing there's something really off with it. And a lot of you guys, the majority of the comments were about kids having their heads too small, like a grown-up proportion of the head. And someone also mentioned a lot of problems with the head of the widow. First of all, it being too big. And the ear is too big, so I fixed all of that stuff. Also, kind of shortened the neck a little bit, but not too much. The widow can have a long neck, a human possible long neck. It looks just about right to me in that sense, but yeah, I fixed the size of the head, making it smaller. Now she looks more like a real grown-up woman, I guess. Added a lot more kids at the bottom of the dress of the widow, so it looks like there's much more action going on closer to the whole feeding area, which makes sense. And I sprayed everyone next to the widow with a lot of blood. I think it totally makes sense and looks like it's actually telling a story now much better. And continuing that, I also covered the dress with a lot of drops of the blood, which you can barely tell is blood, but you also can't mistake it for anything else. Oh, also, I worked so much on the basin, the copper basin that stores all the meat. I used a lot of references for that on Pinterest. Great place. And yeah, I reworked both of the hands, the arms, especially the mid-air hand. It was super long. When I compare it to the old version, it's just absolutely ridiculous. It's almost like another forearm growing out of the forearm. And yeah, so far, there is a lot of areas that are really not that well detailed yet, but they're pretty much all now just secondary faraway kids. So it's getting close to the end. I don't even feel like I need to introduce a lot of new details anymore. I just need to make sure whatever's on the canvas right now just looks more appropriate. Of course, here and there I'll need to introduce some of the shading, a little bit fix the proportions, just imagining where the knees are, where the elbows are, and thinking through a bit more about the shape of the head, because all the heads I ever come up with, like the first brushstrokes I make, it's always just a perfect sphere for a head. It's a very counterproductive thing, I should stop doing that. Replacing that with an oval will improve things a lot for me. So yeah, I'm also toning down the contrast around the head of the widow. I removed a lot of details and shadows, like right next to the head. This whole thing that looks like the holy surrounding thing, whatever it's called. It's kind of going for that, but not like intensively, not in your face or anything. But if you want to see it, you can see it. The bottom side is pretty much done. I added so much of the fog, of the dust picked up from the ground, from all the kids running around, and it immediately brought everything together. It looks so cool now. Just added a few more kids in that dust just showing up briefly, and now it's just a giant amount of kids, and everything is really moving. Also, if you compare back and forth, on the left and on the right, you can see a little bit of the continuation of the dress. Again, it's something you don't see at first, but then if you notice it, and, you know, like zoom out and look at it, you can see how this dress is just a giant mountain that keeps going. The only thing I'll be actually adding, like a new detail, new feature, will be this empty back of this kid, the really closest one. It's a really blank and boring part of the image. I think we need to add like an arm grabbing this cloth, so someone behind the shot is fighting over this kid's place. And yeah, that will probably make the whole picture full of the story. So yeah, it's Saturday right now. I hope to finish this by Tuesday. I think you'll be seeing this video by Tuesday. That's my plan for now. This is gonna be the last episode of Black Widow for sure. This has to be the end. And this is what I'm going to do. You just watch. Okay, it's been like 5 years, I think, since the last time I recorded. Oh my god, I thought so much about what I would say in this part of the video, but it's been so long, so many things happened. And, well, this is the version 1.0. I thought I'd just talk about what I changed and all, but it's pretty much everything, except for the widow maybe. But even that had a lot of changes. It's just so much stuff that you'll just see the process and I guess you'll take something from that. But in general, I just wanted to say a couple of interesting notes about what was the main challenge closer to the end of the painting and what fixed it. The challenge was the fact that everything looked kind of flat. Everything, like all the characters, all the objects, sort of turned into like colorized drawing. Or not colorized drawing, that's usually different. That's when you have like a flat shading or something. In this case, it looked like I was using a colorful paint brush, but I was drawing with it instead of painting. And that's a huge difference when you're thinking not with spots, but with like shapes that you're lining out. And the main little trick that helped me break out of that and changed a lot of things is just remembering the fact that I should lose edges sometimes. And literally in the previous version that I showed you just now, back then I was going for visualizing everything sharply, like not losing any edge. And it proved to be really wrong. Like I remember I spent like a whole day painting and then I closed Photoshop and saw the background painting of some awesome artist. I don't know who it is, but it's of two beautiful white dragons in like a forest over the water. And my immediate thought was, well, this looks awesome, and my painting is nothing like that. It's just so flat and cartoonish comparing to this. And that really upset me, so I went to bed with that thought. And the next day I woke up and started like analyzing what's wrong. And I realized that I'm just showing everything so clearly. And in many cases I was sort of avoiding more realistic shading, even sometimes. For instance, on the arm of the widow right here, the bottom edge, right now I lost it completely, intentionally. Even at the bottom and here, pretty much everywhere where two objects had too similar of a color, in brightness, I mean, usually it's in brightness. So in this case, it's almost not like that, but there's a lot of blood on the arm, and then there's a shadow going on, since at the bottom there's only a lot of the black dress, not a lot of reflected light that would make this part of the arm, like the bottom edge, the bottom plane of it. It wouldn't be lit well by anything, but I was sort of ignoring it, thinking I just need to show the arm well, and that's all that matters. But that made the thing look really flat. So I instead embraced the blending of the edge, so the bottom edge of the arm became darker and it sort of blended into the dress, so I lost that edge. And I was doing that everywhere all the time, including also another type of losing the edge is on the widow's face. I looked at her and like she's kind of painted well, but it really had that drawing effect to it because all the edges were perfectly sharp. Here, this version had it. I think this is what I showed you previously. So all the edges are perfectly defined of the white skin, and it looks just wrong. It shouldn't look like that ever. In many cases, when one plane of the skin, like this trapezius plane, goes behind the neck, I need to sort of lose the edge of that trapezius behind the neck. And that's pretty much what I did. So if we go to the latest version, you'll see how I intentionally lost a lot of the edges in all these areas. When the skin goes away, the neck goes away behind the ear, it gets like ghosted away. And like the further plane of the nose behind the very tip of the nose also gets like fuzzy in there. And that turned out to be the perfect way to show sort of like the deep folding of shapes. If something's folding away, you sort of lose its edge because it's no longer a flat, perfect object that is cut out in front of you. It's falling away. I think it sort of has to do with the Fresnel effect. So if you're showing something that's folding away, it will have the Fresnel effect of reflecting the background really strongly. So at a big angle, everything becomes really reflective. Like you can see the green reflection of the background on the iPad right here. But like this, you don't see any reflections. And my fingers, right? They become a lot more reflective like this and barely any reflection if you look at it like this. So angles always increase the reflection. And I think that's why you lose edges in that kind of situation, when one thing is folding behind the other one. Pretty much at a super strong angle, everything starts losing its edge because it's literally reflecting exactly what's behind itself. I think. But anyway, it just works. It's just one of these little tricks of the painting language that's used to show the depth of the surface, I guess. And yeah, about just the colors that are really close to each other. Literally, the previous version, this was something I fixed very late. So this kid, like a kid number 100, whatever, and his back right here, you can see it's looking lame, like a flat back of the kid. And you'd think like maybe something wrong with the anatomy. Maybe it's still not perfect in the end. But the main problem with that is that it's just unnecessarily defined. And there's no reason for him to be lit so flatly in this case. I only did that because I didn't want to lose its edge. So in the final version, I lit him much stronger so he literally blends into the background. And that happens a lot everywhere, all over the painting. Everywhere where I see that the background starts having the same color as like, for instance, the shaded part of the arm, the gown, or anything, I immediately just intentionally completely lose the edge. And it just introduced so much depth and this like photo effect to the image that immediately became just incredible. I really like this improvement I did. So yeah, I guess that's the main little thing I wanted to tell you guys about. The rest is pretty much a lot of work, a lot of thinking through about every kid, paying attention to every one of them and making sure I think through what they're about. Using Robert Pattinson as a reference for a greasy long hair like this. So this is Robert Pattinson's hair. I decided to completely change it from what it used to be before. That hair that wasn't hair. I don't know what that was. I wasn't thinking about it at all. And suddenly I decided to just embrace it and change that. So yeah, I also introduced like a really cool piece of meat in the arm of the fighting kid right here. So now they're just fighting over this piece over here instead of whatever other ideas I had before. And these arms right here grabbing the back of this kid, looking really cool, made all the cobweb hanging from the ceiling a lot thinner and disappearing a lot of the times. Pretty much I was painting like just tiny bumpy reflections. Still not perfectly happy with some of the areas, but I really wanted to ask you guys, what do you think about it? I still haven't published the image like on Instagram or whatever. In my experience, I should first ask you guys, like I'm showing you the final version and there will always be at least one comment that'll go like, you kind of forgot that little thing, that's totally a mistake. So yeah, I'll just wait for whatever you guys have to say and maybe add some final touches, final fixes on anything, and pretty much then you'll see the final result as an image on Instagram first of all. So if you want to see it there, follow me on Instagram, the link is below. And yeah, I don't know how to finish this video or 2 years of videos about Black Widow, but this is the final result. That's pretty much it. That's all I can say at this point. It's not perfect, but I like it. I think it's pretty good. I think it's way better than what it could turn into. It definitely taught me a lot of things. First of all, thumbnails. A little bit of a trained feeling of what I want from the composition before I put hours into it. So thumbnailing and searching for a more confident and fortunate composition, that's like, honestly, like 90% of the success of a painting. Not that this painting is successful, I can't tell if it's any good. It's so hard to comprehend it at all. Like, it's looking pretty cool when you zoom in, but when you zoom out, is it cool? Is it impressive when you see so much fighting kids and everything? Does it look like something striking? Should it be striking? I don't know anymore. I don't know anything. It became way bigger than I am. That's all I have to say. The only thing I can add is that sorry guys for not having a video last week, because I was just busy with this. I thought, okay, I'll add one more day, so it will be published on Tuesday then. Now another day on Wednesday, and then I realized it's already Friday, so I guess it'll make sense to publish it on Monday, literally 1 week later. So this is it. But one interesting announcement. I came up with this idea while I was painting. I had so many little tips and just little ideas that I wanted to talk about, but I realized, like, putting it into this Black Widow video, 90% of you already clicked away. So it's not a video where you share some specific tip, you know? So I decided I'll just literally make a second video per week. And it will be like, if the main video is on Monday, it's a long, like 20 to 30 minutes long. And the second one will be under 5 minutes long. And it will be just literally a title that is software tip or painting tip or something like that, or maybe even like I don't know, meaning of life for artists tip. And the video will be just 5 minutes or less just on that subject. Not a free format the way I usually do it, but just specifically, you see the title, you click on the video, and you watch me talking specifically about that. Just the way good YouTube videos should be. I already have like a little list ready for the next couple of weeks to publish extra videos like that, so look forward to that. So this is it. After I'm done talking, you'll see the rest of this giant process. It'll take a while and it's sped up 50 times, so keep that in mind, how many hours I put into this. And I thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!
you.